Remember when Ousmane Dembele was just another injury headline at Barcelona?
Frank, to the injuries that were picked up by Ousmane Dembele.
Yeah, me neither. The Frenchman was a meme across social media. He was the Physio's full-time job. But Dembele delivered the best season of his life. 33 goals, 15 assists in 2024-2025. And PSG's Champions League drought ended by the man Barcelona fans booed. This wasn't supposed to happen, because before him, Neymar couldn't do it, Messi couldn't do it, Mbappe couldn't do it. So how did football's most unreliable talent transform into its most unstoppable force in 2025? And more importantly, how did he get here? You know that rare player that makes defenders hesitate before they even touch the ball? That was Ousmane Dembele at 19. Skinny frame, oversized jersey, a grin that looked too casual for the destruction he was about to cause. At Rennes, he's shown sparks, little glimpses of something different, but at Borussia Dortmund, he was a storm no one could handle. One week, he'd glide past 3 men on the left wing and hammer a left-foot rocket into the top corner. The next, he would appear on the right flank, whip a cross with his weaker foot, and leave centre-backs arguing about who's supposed to pick him up. He wasn't two-footed in the polite sense. He was an unpredictable talent. Coaches compared him to Neymar, and the German press started calling him a cheat code. The numbers proved it, 10 goals and 21 assists in his first season, but the moments mattered more than stats. In the DFB Pokal final, his opening goal against Frankfurt was pure class. In the Champions League quarter-final against Monaco, his pace and confidence turned into a personal highlight reel. He even capped it off with a goal. Scouts from every major club were paying attention. Then came the summer of 2017 and everything changed. Barcelona lost Neymar to PSG in a €222 million move that rocked European football. Suddenly, the Catalans were scrambling to replace the irreplaceable. Their solution? A 20-year-old with a price tag that made even Dortmund's CEO admit, "We would have been crazy to say no." €105 million plus 40 million in add-ons for a teenager with fewer than 50 senior appearances. The script was perfect. Messi on the right, Suarez in the middle, and Dembele, Neymar 2.0, on the left with fresher legs. Camp Nou buzzed with anticipation. The world expected fireworks. Instead, 3 games in, a backheel flick went horribly wrong. A sharp pain shot through his leg, he crumbled. The diagnosis? Ruptured hamstring tendon, and he was sidelined for 4 months. When he finally returned, the injuries kept coming. Thigh, groin, fatigue, each setback became another headline, another reason for Spanish media to label him lazy and unprofessional. For most players, one big hamstring tear can change everything. Michael Owen lost his defining pace. Jack Wilshere never hit his ceiling. Dembele had 3 major injuries before 25. And yet, somewhere in Paris, people were still watching those Dortmund tapes, still remembering the chaos he once unleashed. The world moved on, but in the quiet corners of European scouting reports, a question lingered. What if the flop of the century wasn't finished at all? By 2020, Dembele had missed over 500 days of football, almost 2 seasons gone. We all thought it was over, yet inside the club's training complex, a different story unfolded. Endless rehab sessions, resistance bands digging into sore muscles, trainers urging him through painful sprints. Dembele rebuilt his body in silence, while every headline screamed he was finished. Despite all that, he had popped every now and then to remind us of the talent he possessed. A dazzling solo run and thunderbolt against Sevilla, a Champions League screamer against Tottenham that bent the laws of physics. But those sparks only fueled the frustration, proof of what he could be if his body would cooperate. At the same time, Barcelona's world was collapsing. financial turmoil, boardroom infighting, and a fan base losing patience. Dembele had become a symbol of squandered millions. When whispers came that PSG were monitoring him, many laughed, questioning, why would a club haunted by failed Galacticos gamble on damaged goods? But Paris saw something else: the two-footed terror from Dortmund. In the back room at PSG, someone was willing to bet that the broken winger could rewrite his own story and theirs. The football world had already closed the book on Dembele, but PSG were about to help him write a new chapter that would shock everyone. Summer 2023 arrived with PSG in crisis. Messi had departed for Miami. Neymar was heading to Saudi Arabia. The dream team that was supposed to conquer Europe had crumbled into expensive disappointment. Enter Ousmane Dembele as PSG brought him back to France for 50 million euros. The announcement barely made a ripple. Commentators rolled their eyes. Same old PSG, typical flashy signing. Parisian ultras were skeptical. The French media dismissed him as a discount Neymar replacement. To most, this wasn't a rebirth, it was a ticking time bomb. But inside PSG's training complex, Luis Enrique and the medical staff hatched a different plan. They scrapped the generic routines that had failed him in Spain. A custom program rebuilt his hamstrings with surgical precision, shorter sprints, longer rest intervals, eccentric strength drills, and nutrition tweaks designed to reduce muscle fatigue. Then came the tactical twist. Enrique refused to glue Dembele to the touchline as a traditional winger. Instead, he unleashed him centrally and in half spaces, closer to the goal, where his two-footed chaos could terrorize defenses without the lung-busting runs that had betrayed his body. However, doubts still resurfaced. A poor showing against Lille, a Champions League group stage benching against Arsenal. But even as the complaints grew, Dembele ignored them and kept working quietly. Extra finishing drills, video sessions studying defenders' tendencies. Over and over, repetition smoothed the wild edges of his game. December 2024 arrived with all sorts of goals. A left-foot curler against Lyon that silenced the crowd, then a right-foot scorcher against Marseille that lit it up again. By mid-season, Ligue 1 defenders were terrified. One-foot feints no longer mattered. Dembele could go either way and still beat you. In January 2025, Dembele scored a stoppage-time winner that secured the Trophée des Champions for PSG, provided 2 goals in a masterclass performance against Manchester City, and scored a hat-trick against Stuttgart in a 4-1 win, his second career hat-trick and his first in European competitions. 3 days later, Dembele scored another hat-trick in a 5-2 league win away to Brest, becoming the first PSG player to have scored consecutive hat-tricks in official matches. As PSG's Champions League season progressed, so did Dembele. The Champions League became his stage for redemption. Dembele scored the equalizing goal against Liverpool in the round of 16, scored in the ensuing penalty shootout as PSG advanced to the quarterfinals. In a nail-biting event against Arsenal, the Frenchman scored PSG's only goal in a 1-0 away win in the first leg, and assisted Hakimi's goal in the second leg, helping PSG advance to the final, and setting a new record for the most goal contributions by a player at a French club in a single Champions League campaign with 12. Dembele ended the season as joint top scorer in Ligue 1 with 21 goals alongside Marseille's Mason Greenwood, having helped PSG to their 13th league title. He was also named the Ligue 1 Player of the Year for the first time and was included in the Ligue 1 Team of the Year. On the 31st of May 2025, PSG finally won the Champions League after beating Inter Milan 5-0 in the final. Messi, Neymar and Mbappe couldn't achieve that in the past, but Dembele was instrumental throughout the campaign and even provided 2 assists in the final. The player, mocked as a fragile joke, had dragged Paris to the summit Europe had denied them for over a decade. With the continental treble for PSG and the personal accolades Dembele received, the chatters for the Ballon d'Or award grew really loud. After the final, his statistics for the season were of 33 goals and 15 assists in 49 appearances in all competitions, leading to him being cited as one of the leading candidates for the 2025 Ballon d'Or. The Ballon d'Or has never been a simple stat sheet award. If it were, the top scorer would collect it every year and we'd call it a day. Instead, it's a narrative war, a collision of numbers, moments, and mythology. And in 2025, no season shifted the narrative quite like Dembele's. The field was stacked. Mo Salah dazzled again, but Liverpool's story stopped at the domestic level. Rafinha had bursts of brilliance for Barcelona, but he was never their heartbeat, as was Lamine Yamal. Even Kylian Mbappe, so often the center of this debate, watched as PSG leaned on someone else when it mattered most. Then there's Dembele. He had the stats, Ligue 1 title, Coupe de France, PSG's first Champions League title. And these weren't padding numbers, they were defining moments. In the FIFA Club World Cup, he was instrumental in the quarterfinal against Bayern Munich and a masterclass against Real Madrid in the semi-finals. This Ballon d'Or conversation was always going to be about more than stats. Luka Modric's 2018 crown wasn't only about technique, it was the fairy tale of Croatia's improbable run. Karim Benzema's 2022 win rewarded a career rebuilt in the shadows. Dembele's arc is just as dramatic. From a flop at Barcelona to the man who achieved what Messi, Neymar and Mbappe couldn't do together in Paris. He has proven he's beyond injuries, beyond the need for a bigger figure to shelter him, and capable of shaping a season on his own terms. His campaign forced the football world to reconsider what greatness can look like. Dembele's 2024-25 season wasn't built only on goals and assists, it was built on humiliation, resilience and audacity. It turned mockery into awe. And Ballon d'Or or no Ballon d'Or, that transformation is already part of football history. The only question left is not about awards, but about legacy. Can he do it again? For Ousmane Dembele, the Ballon d'Or conversation may be settled on paper, but the debate about what truly defines the world's best player is far from over. If you think Dembele's Ballon d'Or journey speaks volumes, Thierry Henry might have a strong case some 20 years ago, because he was the architect of Arsenal's invincible run. He never won the award. And wait till you see why many believe the 2003 Ballon d'Or was one of football's greatest robberies ever.